Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Welcome to this video in which we're going to be covering how to manage your fitness with your schedule, your travel, any food cravings you might have, and all the other professional and familial obligations that you might have while elevating your deen, staying dialed in on your deen, and becoming the best and strongest Muslim that you can be, understanding that Allah has given you many gifts, and Allah has given you the gift of a healthy body, the gift of a family, the gift of your career and your business, and most importantly has made you a believer on this deen. And so as a result of that, we have to really sit and reflect within ourselves on the fact that if we are not being the best and strongest version of ourselves that we can be within our health and fitness, then we need to level up, because not only is being healthy and fit going to elevate all these other blessings that Allah has given us, but if we make our intention to please Allah by taking care of the body He's given us, and make this a means by which we show gratitude in addition to our ibadah, but also the fact that our ibadah goes up when we dial in on our fitness, then inshallah there's going to be a lot more barakah in this journey, as opposed to, you see some of the younger guys, they want to just get fit for the sake of self-glorification, but that's the wrong reason. Only Allah deserves to be glorified, and Allah has raised us in status by giving us these blessings and responsibilities, and so we owe it to Allah, and we can never thank Him enough, but the least we can do is try to be the best in our bodies. And so essentially, we have to remember that when we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, this means there's no power, no strength except with Allah. And so again, we look at all the different blessings He's given us in our family, our career, our business, our deen. And so I want this to be part of the motivation for why we're going to get physically strong and empower ourselves in other areas by Allah's permission through fitness. So we're going to start off with a reminder, then we're going to go into like the actual brass tacks, the action items, everything else that you can do to see success inside of your fitness journey, inshallah. And that reminder is this famous hadith, which is that the strong believer is more beloved to Allah than the weak believer. And so Allah has made you strong in various other areas. Maybe Allah has made you a strong father. Allah has made you strong financially. Allah has made you strong in your deen and in your iman. But if you have fallen short in your body, then it's time to level up the strength and health of that body and realize that this benefits you positively in all other areas when done the right way, which is what today is all about. We're going to go into the right way to do this in a way that boosts your other areas of life instead of taking away from them, inshallah. So essentially what we're going to do here is we want to actually first just look just real quick before we go into like the actual, boom, 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 everything else I got for you guys today. The meaning of the word qawi in this hadith, right? It doesn't just mean like strong in one area, it means strong in all areas. And so many of us fall into this category of being one-dimensional and neglecting all these other areas. But again, if you're here right now and you recognize the blessings Allah has given you, you're grateful that Allah has given you a great family, you're grateful that Allah has given you a great job or a great business, you're grateful that Allah has made you a Muslim, and you're grateful that Allah has given you a body, a healthy body, and that Allah has given you life, and you recognize that taking care of it is something that when done for the right intentions is actually pleasing to Allah, and we recognize that improving the strength of this body and the mental strength that comes along with it, along the way, the strength of character, the strength of discipline, everything else is going to boost you in the other areas, then we're going to dive into it. But in order to do so, we need to overcome the obstacles strategically, not just motivation, which, of course I love to do the motivation stuff, but we also need to realistically break down what are the obstacles that have held you back in the past. So perhaps you've tried fitness strategies before that were not really tailored to your busy and demanding life, and they were not realistic for you, and they did not work with the time constraints that you had, and they did not work with the dietary preferences and culture that we have as Muslims, or maybe it wasn't tailored to your current fitness level. Perhaps you were on it with a good regimen, but then you had travel and you had other, different demands within your career, your business, or your family, or your deen, and other stuff that threw you off, but didn't just throw you off for a day or a week, but threw you off for long enough that it completely threw you off your fitness journey, and so the circumstances have held you back. Perhaps you were, you didn't have the right support network. You felt like you were alone on the journey, and that kind of eventually fizzled out your motivation in addition to having the wrong strategy. And so you needed something different as far as like, your environment, your lifestyle, but you also might have some bad habits that you need to break, or you just need to kind of change your mindset towards it to have more motivation. And of course, if there's any other obstacles that you have personally identified within yourself, then go ahead and drop them in the comments and we can tackle them as well, inshallah. So essentially what we're going to cover today is how to lose weight and improve your strength and fitness while accommodating a busy and demanding life. So again, figuring out where you have time constraints and where you have pockets of time, and then how we can flexibly fit in different types of fitness that are appropriate for your level, your time constraints, your equipment, whatever it may be. And then establishing the order in which these things need to happen to be like a domino, right? Like if your rhythm is not conducive, like you're trying to do fitness, but at the end of the day, your momentum is way off. The fitness feels clunky. It's working awkwardly with your schedule. It's not realistic. That's not good. Versus when everything seamlessly flows into the next, it actually boosts your momentum into the next task. This is going to be the best thing because you have maximum momentum and flow on any given day. Okay. Of course, we also need to talk about cultural foods because, sometimes we try to eat these healthy foods, but they're not realistic with the family. We try to prep things, but it doesn't really make sense with our schedule. So there's a lot that needs to be addressed there as well, inshallah. And of course, there's a lot of nuances to fitness. Everybody kind of needs a different protocol. So I'm going to make that simple so it's very easy for you to identify what protocol is appropriate for you and how to customize that to yourself, inshallah, and go further than that as well. Now, we're also going to talk about how to do this while traveling because I understand you travel a lot for professional reasons and for family reasons. And so we need to make sure that we're accommodating for these fluctuations as far as like how much time you have available, how stressed out you are, your workload that given week, month, or season, or even quarter. You might have a quarterly target or just a quarter within your industry that is particularly busy. For instance, let's say that you're in the tax industry. There's a certain time of year where you're going to be a lot more busy than other times of year, right? So depending on just what industry you're in, et cetera, this can also vary. Or maybe it's the summer that's busy for you because you have increased family demands because your kids are home, whatever it may be. We need to work around this because alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed us with, very full lives as far as like the richness of our family, the richness of what he's, endowed us with our career or our status or whatever it may be, our business. And so just a reminder to say alhamdulillah for that because, when we're grateful, Allah will give us more and make things, better for us in every single way because Allah has the best plan. He's the best of planners. And so ultimately, we also need to do our part and plan appropriately for travel, inshallah. I mean, there's a reason why Allah put you on here so you can learn this guidance, right? So we need to also be able to accommodate for those fluctuations in your workload and your seasons. And we also need to be able to handle stress-related food cravings. And then also, how do you recover and manage when you have a higher level of stress? So how to bring your cortisol, your stress hormone down, all that stuff, right? So these are all important things that we need to cover. And we also need to cover how to surround yourself with the right people, right? If you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are just dragging you down, this is not going to work for you, okay? And of course, building the right habits, having the right mindset towards everything, strategically overcoming bad habits and mindsets that are not serving you, improving your lifestyle and your environment, and really shifting the way that you see yourself to make a lot of these things happen automatically. These are very important frameworks. And of course, future videos that you want me to go deeper into, drop a comment below. And if it's something confidential, then you could just DM me on Instagram, which is where I'm most likely to see it. So weight loss and strength training for the busy man. So we're going to go into 3 categories, and I have a couple different slides for each of these. Time constraints versus pockets of time and the domino flow that we talked about for maximum momentum, and how to archetype your days appropriately to drive the maximum result. Cultural foods and easy meal prep, so you can delegate this to your wife or you can meal prep on the weekend, and the family will like these recipes as well, inshallah, which is awesome. Alhamdulillah, they all get healthy, including yourself, and without anybody being like upset about the flavor or anything. And then of course we're going to talk about the nuances of fitness. Okay, so there's a couple different types of days that you're going to have. Okay, there are some days where you will work out at the beginning of the day, some days where you work out in the middle, some where you'll work out at the end. Usually I prefer the first 2, but sometimes there's many cases where, guys will have to work out at the end of the day after work if that kind of works with you, your energy, your schedule, or it's just something you're going to have to do and kind of almost force yourself to do, which, is where accountability and having the right environment are key if you end up having to force yourself. But ideally, I like to put it strategically in different parts of the beginning or middle of the day so that it actually works better with your momentum, with your workflow, and with your family obligations, everything else. So I'm going to give you a couple examples, and I fluctuate between all of these because my work demands, family demands, other demands, fluctuate based on the week, the day, the quarter, the season, whatever it may be. So one great example is, and this is actually what I did today, and then I'll show, versus actually usually I do my workout in the middle because I like to get a little bit of deep work first. But today what I did was after Fajr, I did my workout, then I went into deep work, then, and as I mentioned here, sometimes you have family demands, right? Then I had to take my son to school. Then I'm actually continuing the deep work. And then I have to pick up my son. Then from there, I'm going to do my shallower work. So like calls and all that type of stuff. And he has summer school right now, in case you're wondering, wait, it's summer, right? Or when did you record this? So his summer school is only 4 hours, right? So it does, it can be a little clunkier with the schedule, but it is what it is. You have to just roll with the punches, right? And then family time, spending time with the family after, all my calls in the evening, right? So that's an example of today. Now, let's say you have some other types of days where you deep work right after Fajr. This is one of my favorites, and this is what I usually do. Just really depends on the day. Then you work out after your deep work. Then you do your shallower work later, and then family time. And you might have like family obligations in between this, like maybe you work out after you take your kids to school and you lump those two things together. Maybe you work out before you take your kids to school after you do some deep work. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to set this up. And again, as I mentioned, this is going to really just depend. I mean, yours may differ significantly from this, right? So you're going to have to just take these ideas and accommodate them. And of course, you can soundboard this off me and my team, and we can work together to actually establish this. But basically, I just want to give you the ideas so you can start to implement them right away and start to get some results, inshallah. So after, of course, all that, then you can do your calls later, because like trying to do deep work after a workout and later in the day, I mean, it's difficult because your best time to do deep work is at the beginning of the day when your mind is the most fresh. And sometimes a workout helps you wake up if you do it right after Fajr, which helps you to do the deep work. But in this example, you've already drained yourself doing deep work mentally. You've now drained yourself physically doing the workout. But the thing is, if you work out properly, it actually boosts your energy, but it's a different type of energy. Again, in this case, it can help you wake up. Like, for instance, I went for a run this morning. I don't usually like to run, but I run for the mental strength benefits and also because I got to take care of the lungs. We're trying to manna from Allah. And imagine, like, if you had such bad cardio that you had to, you couldn't even recite Quran at the highest level, or you were getting winded while you were praying. So that was kind of my motivation to do my cardio today. But usually I like to walk for cardio. And then, of course, but there are also some workouts like a really heavy strength training session, which will make you feel drained afterwards. So there are different types of workouts that are going to depend on like what time you're working out, what purpose you're using the workout for. I mean, again, overall, we want to have more energy and be healthier and have a healthy metabolism, higher testosterone levels, which involves a combination of strength training, cardio, and walking. Usually it's going to be like 3 strength training sessions a week, but we'll go into the nuances. Some people need more, some people need less, etc., when we get to that slide. But just wanted to address that real quick while we're in the schedules. But yeah, so Fajr, deep work, workout, shallower work. Okay, so after a midday workout and you've done a bunch of deep work, you're probably not going to have the mental focus to do more deep work after all that already, just being realistic. So shallower work and then family time. And of course, you may have like taking the kids, like for me, every day at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. I have to worry about taking my kid to school and picking them up, because that's how the summer school schedule versus on regular school, it's 8 a.m. and 2:45, although we might get them in Taekwondo after school, which would be nice because the guy actually comes to the Islamic school and takes them, so I can have them there later, inshallah. But anyways, Fajr, family demands, workout, deep work, shallow work. So this is another example where maybe you have a bunch of family time in the morning. This could be like your weekend schedule, right? Or maybe you work out before the family time on your weekend schedule, before the family wakes up. This is another example, and this works with travel. We're going to talk about travel rhythms, right? But depending on what this is going to look like for you, it really just depends on your individual schedule. So tailor this to yourself. I mean, you're a smart man. You know how to make some adjustments, right? But I'm just giving you some ideas. Now, in this case, again, the deep work, you might end up doing this midday. And because family time was like more relaxing and you had this would be like a little bit more of a slow paced, chill workout, maybe some mobility work, whatever it may be. So it doesn't drain you so much, or maybe just a quick light cardio session or a quick light bodyweight session that just gets your energy up, as opposed to a longer strength training session, or even a shorter intense strength training session. You'd be too tired for deep work afterwards, but maybe a shorter, less intense strength training session could be great. Then you do your deep work, then you do your shallow work. That can work as well. That's great for weekends if you work weekends, or maybe if you have a later work schedule, depending on when your calls are, when your deep work is, whatever it may be. And maybe you don't have any deep work. Maybe you're a manager and your entire day is calls, right? Or maybe you don't have any calls at all or any shallow work. Your whole day is deep work. Maybe you're like a marketing agency. I mean, you might have some meetings then, depending on what role you have. Maybe you're a video editor, whatever it may be, depending on who you are or what season you're in and what you have to do the most of. Or maybe you're a content creator and most of your work is deep work, right? So it really just depends on you, and you definitely want to archetype your days. And this is a further nuance that I don't have in the slides here, but let's say that you are currently in a season where you need to do more deep work, right? What you might do is you might have 1 or 2 days where you do all your calls, and then you might try to have at least 3 days a week where you have no calls whatsoever, so you can get a lot of deep work, ideally more than that. Like maybe you have 6 days of deep work, 1 day of calls, and you just have all your calls on 1 day. Versus if you're a manager, you might have 1 day of deep work and 6 days of calls, or maybe you take days off as well, 4 days of calls and 1 day of deep work, or maybe just a morning of deep work and then calls in the evening. Whatever works for you. Maybe you have morning calls every day and you kind of just have to do your deep work even earlier than that, like tahajjud time. Just make sure you pray tahajjud as well. Don't waste that time. But again, it just depends on you. I'm going into a lot of nuances here, but I hope this all makes sense and you can relate with this based on the different like experiences you've been through, right? And then, of course, Fajr, family demands, deep work, workout, shallow work. So again, in this particular case, maybe you do the deep work right after family time because the workout's going to make you tired. And then after the workout, that's when you do your shallow work and your calls, whatever it may be. Fajr, deep work, shallow work, family. So again, this is an example where you work out like when you finish work before you go to the family. This is a popular one, especially like guys who have a lot of calls. Like I have a client who has calls from like 6 a.m. to like 3 p.m. and it's super draining. It's because his company just had a bunch of layoffs, so they threw a bunch of work onto him, and maybe that's a relatable situation for a lot of you guys. So again, he kind of has to force himself to work out at 3 p.m., which is why we have the accountability, but mashallah, he's still getting good results. He's doing well, and inshallah, may Allah make it easy for him, and his workload should get a little bit lighter pretty soon, inshallah. But either way, all good. He's still taking action. He's still crushing it. Father of 3 in his 40s, mashallah. So may Allah bless him in everything he's doing, and may Allah make him an inspiration for all you guys who are going through similar struggles, okay? Now, one nuance here is I don't usually recommend working out within 4 hours of bedtime. Now, I have another client, and mashallah, he's a doctor, also a father of 3 in his 40s, but different profession. And so due to the nature of his work, he prefers to work out in the evening, usually either at like 5 or 6 p.m. after work, but sometimes he'll work out like actually just straight up at night, like 8, 9 p.m. And I don't know how he does it. He's, mashallah, an anomaly. He also has some interesting dietary preferences, mashallah, but you know what? He's crushing it. He's done a bunch of successful muscle building phases, a bunch of successful fat loss phases, mashallah, this doctor, and he's actually been working with me for 2 years, so amazing guy, mashallah. May Allah continue to bless him. Great Muslim brother involved in this community as well. And so he's another great example. Even if you have 3 kids, you're in your 40s, you work a very demanding career, and you do a bunch of community work, you can still do this, right? And we're going to get into that a little later with the inspiration examples. Okay, cultural food prep. So there's a couple principles here, right? And I hope this makes sense within the daily flow. So you kind of just categorize things. The principle here is you categorize things into 4 different buckets, right? Which is deep work, shallow work, family time, workout time. Of course, our ibadah is a given, right? So you're going to take breaks to do your prayers. But if you need help like scheduling that in, you're struggling getting your 5 prayers, we can help you with that as well. I just like to use Fajr as kind of the starting point of the day in these examples, but there are also some examples where we might sleep after Fajr. So it really just depends. But I should have mentioned that caveat before I went into all these. It's a given that you're praying 5 times a day. I mean, at the beginning of this, I said, mashallah, Allah has blessed you in the Deen, everything. But I also know that some people have been tested or they're struggling. So if you're struggling, and I definitely have had many clients who, due to their busy schedule, were falling short of their prayers. And I say this in the most non-judgmental way possible. That's obviously unacceptable. You can't, miss the mandatory acts of Islam. I'm not saying this like I'm judging you and blah, 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 and, I'm never going to talk to you. I'm never going to help you if you don't pray. In fact, if you don't pray, I really want to help you to get on point with your prayers because there's a lot of barakah in that. Alhamdulillah, in our program, we've helped a lot of busy professionals and business owners who were falling short of their prayers, whether it was like they're really struggling, like only 1 or 2 a day. We got them up to 4, then we got them up to 5, alhamdulillah, all with Allah's permission. And of course, we've also had people who were, consistent with at least 3 to 4, and we got them to 5. But the majority of people we're working with are already on point with their 5 prayers, and you probably are as well. But if you're not, no judgment. We would definitely love to help you to set up for success. And the big reminder there is, remember, your whole business, your whole job was given to you by Al-Razaq, which is one of the names of Allah. Allah is the sustainer of the universe. Allah is the provider. So how could you transgress against Allah when He's provided for you by failing to fulfill His rights? And so it's very important that we stay on point with our prayers. And it's only going to boost you in your dunya, and it's also going to boost you in your deen. Allah doesn't need us to pray for His sake because Allah is self-sufficient. He doesn't need anything from us. He has us pray because, well, there's many reasons, right? We hear and we obey even if we don't know the reasons. But remember, it's going to benefit you in the dunya too. I mean, the fact that you have the opportunity to pray to Allah is an honor, right? So make sure you fulfill that honor and also fulfill that obligation and understand there's benefits to it whether you see them or not. Like, I actually posted a great video on my Instagram about this. If I can give you some individualized help on this. I don't want to go on like a 20-minute tangent with this, but the point is, very important to stay on point with your prayers. And if you're currently not praying and you're currently struggling in any given area of your life, get on point with your prayers, prioritize your deen, inshallah, Allah will sort out the rest for you. And that might be why Allah is blocking the result for you in any given area where you might be struggling. Okay, so cultural food prep, principles. So first off, I want you to understand what we do and why, okay? So we can go a lot stricter with nutrition, by the way. Like, I don't mind putting you on a very strict nutrition plan if you're not too particular about food, but if you're like most people who we've worked with, cultural food has been a significant obstacle for them. Again, if you're like an anomaly, because we've definitely had a lot of people who weren't too particular about food and their family wasn't too particular, great, we'll put you on a stricter diet, no problem. But If you want some nice cultural accommodations, then I'm definitely down to give you that as well. So the principle with these cultural accommodations is we increase your protein and fiber intake and we decrease your calories, okay? Without like sacrificing food volume. I mean, obviously, if you're engorging yourself and gluttonously stuffing yourself, then of course that's not the sunnah. We need to follow the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. But realistically speaking, even by just making these small modifications, even if adjusting the quantity is going to be a struggle for you, and maybe we address that later to get you in line with the sunnah. If we at least make these modifications, it'll make a big difference. But I think, mashallah, you have success and discipline in many areas of your life. We can apply that to fitness, and it shouldn't take you too long to adjust your portion sizes as well, inshallah. But anyways, when you eat more protein and fiber and decrease the calories, this is going to do a combination of things, which is shifting your metabolism and getting you in a calorie deficit to help you lose a significant amount of fat, build muscle, build strength, recover from your workouts and overall stress better, sleep better, and have more energy, less bloating, boosting your testosterone, and improving your blood work. So there's a host of benefits that happen when you follow a proper nutrition plan. And how do we do these easy modifications? And again, we go stricter if you want. This is just, easy modifications. Shift to leaner cuts of meat. If you're currently doing chicken drumsticks with the skin on, shift to chicken breast, or chicken thighs with the skin on, shift to boneless, skinless chicken breast, right? If you're currently doing ribeye steaks, switch to filet mignon. If you currently, or if you're currently doing 80-20 beef, switch to 93-7 or 96-4, right? If you're currently doing lamb, avoid lamb and maybe only do it once a week and shift to some leaner cuts of meat. So very easy, right? If you're currently doing, some of the fattier cuts of goat, switch to goat loin chops. Whatever lean cuts you like. There's also fish, seafood options, a lot of things we can do. Okay? Use less oil when you're cooking. If you just cut the oil in half, great. If you limit it to one, here's the best thing you do. If you do 2 teaspoons of oil for every 1 pound of meat, that's a very good, and if that's too little, you can do 1 tablespoon for every pound of meat, no problem. But if you can do as little as 2 teaspoons for every pound of meat, lean meat, boom, you're going to be in a solid deficit. But I understand that oil does add quite a bit of flavor. Just, it's not essential. I mean, the spices will add most of the flavor, and you can still use spices. That's not a problem at all. Okay? If there's any other ingredients what you prep, use lower fat versions of that ingredient. So let's say that you're like really big into like using yogurt as a marinade. Use fat-free Greek yogurt instead of regular, so you're getting just straight protein without the extra carbs and fats. And if you really like cheese, use fat-free cheese instead of regular cheese, and it's still amazing and delicious, and it's going to get you better results and make you less bloated and have more energy to do more ibadah, be more successful in your business or your work, and of course be in a better mood and have more energy with your family. Next up, to get more fiber in, we're going to find a veggie you like. I don't care if you don't like Brussels sprouts, don't eat Brussels sprouts, okay? I don't care if you don't like broccoli, don't eat broccoli. I don't like broccoli, I don't eat broccoli, right? But I love green beans, and I like mixed veggies, and I like carrots, so that's what I eat. Maybe you don't like those things, but maybe you like okra, bindi, right? And I actually like bindi too. It's just, the other ones are a little easier to cook, right? So it just depends. But what you can do is you can make steamed veggies, so don't put oil on it, but you can put seasoning on it, no problem, spices, whatever you want to do, just no oil, because obviously then that's too many calories. And a salad with no dressing, or with a low-calorie dressing or a low-oil dressing, right? But low-calorie dressing is important. And this is going to get your fiber in, and fiber is going to help to improve your digestion, your hormones, your blood work, and your energy levels. A high fiber intake is correlated with better blood work across pretty much every disease. Insulin sensitivity, so if you have diabetes or you're at risk of it in your family, cholesterol, heart disease, all that stuff, it's literally correlated. I think that higher fiber is even correlated with a lower risk of cancer, which could be like a correlation effect, like not a placebo effect, but like it may not directly be responsible, because generally people who consume more fiber have higher, regard for health. But regardless, it makes a big difference. Fiber directly brings your cholesterol down. I mean, there's so many different things it does, and it definitely improves your testosterone levels and brings your estrogen down, which fixes your mood, your energy, a lot of things, gets you on point in many different ways. When we make these small modifications, everything tastes pretty similar, but it has way better nutrients. Oh, and the best part about eating more fiber is you get less bloated, which helps you just feel lighter and better right away and shrinks your belly right away, which is awesome. Okay, so next up, we're going to go into the nuances of fitness made simple. So I understand you probably have some past injuries, okay? I understand that you might be like a beginner with fitness. You might be somebody who's a little more intermediate, or you might be somebody who's already very advanced, right? So we need to tailor it to your current experience level. And then, of course, we also need to look at, do you have equipment? Do you have a hotel gym? Do you have an apartment gym? Do you have a home gym? Or do you have no equipment or gym whatsoever? Or do you have a full gym, right? It really just depends on what do you realistically have available. So again, body weight, home gym, apartment gym, gym. A lot of apartment gyms these days, especially if you live in a nice place, mashallah, alhamdulillah, it's another blessing to be grateful to Allah for, are like fully decked out gyms, which is awesome, right? and there's less or no fitna there, which is awesome, because that's another important priority, is avoiding the sin that brings your iman down, of being surrounded by a lot of half naked women at the gym. We want to avoid that, right? So find a gym, and for you, that the option might only be home gym or body weight, and that's fine, right? We can absolutely lose weight very easily with that, because it's mostly nutrition, but it's still important that we do some form of strength training, even if it's body weight, which also might be more convenient for you, even if you have a fitna free gym, which is key. But of course, if your apartment gym is like pretty much fitna free, especially at certain times, then that's a great option, so you have full equipment as well. But it also depends on your sorry, but it also depends on your time constraints, so it really just depends. But anyways, so there are a couple different types of exercise. We're going to talk about, what's more flexible, what are the pros and cons, how to organize it. So walking is amazing, because walking is very convenient, very flexible. You can do it in many gaps and pockets of time. So let's say that you have a meeting that you can easily take while you're walking, and walking will actually help you to be less bored and have more energy on the meeting, or whatever it may be. You can do it, versus if it's a meeting where you're screen sharing and you have to be really focused and you can't even do an under the desk treadmill with a standing desk. Obviously don't walk during that meeting, but if it's just like, a more routine meeting where you can kind of just, take it on your phone, or you just have to listen in, or whatever it may be, very easy to take it while walking, or just set up your treadmill under, whatever's realistic for you. Now, another thing too is you might have like 10 minutes, you might have a little bit of time after, lunch, after you pray dhuhr, to, go for a walk. That's fine as well, right? So these are some great ways to do it. And walking after your meals actually helps with insulin sensitivity, keeping your blood sugar consistent, your energy levels, all that good stuff, which is also important. So walking is great, highly convenient. It burns a good amount of fat. And it definitely adds up over time, and building a more active lifestyle, multitasking that with family time, take your kids to the park, go on walks with your wife. These things are all very beneficial to get your steps up. Even participating in some kind of sports with your wife can be beneficial if there's a fitna-free environment where, your wife has her privacy that she needs, right? Now, bodyweight training, okay? Bodyweight training is awesome because, of course, you can do it from anywhere, so it's great. Like, I have one guy, really, really busy real estate developer, mashallah, crushing it. May Allah continue to increase him in success. Busy dad. He's got, I won't say the specific amount because I haven't gotten permission from him, but he has more than 4 kids. Could be 5, could be 6. He has a lot. Okay, mashallah. And he also, very, very successful, busy guy, mashallah. And he's in his late 30s. And so if he can do it, you can absolutely do it as well. But he was really struggling with the gym workouts because he had a gym membership. He likes hitting the gym. He used to hit the gym a lot when he was younger. And so did many of the people around him, which was helpful for him. But the problem is that just with his work schedule, it's actually very hard for him to make it to the gym, realistically speaking, no matter how much of an action taker he is, mashallah. So body weight is the solution that we added in there to make it so that he could actually just work out from his office in a way that boosts his energy, brings his stress down, because that industry with his schedule, especially all the community work, mashallah, he does, very stressful. And so body weight is actually a much more realistic solution that we've been able to implement within his program, in addition to all the diet stuff and everything else. So this is very, very good. It builds a little bit of strength, definitely more strength than walking, because walking is more so cardio, and body weight's super flexible. You can literally do it from your office. I mean, obviously, if you're wearing a suit, it's a little harder to do, but if you have more comfortable clothes that you wear, this is great. Or you can just do it from home, really convenient, easy. You do it first thing in the morning before you take your shower to help you wake up. Lots of different ways to get that domino positive momentum effect. Now, strength training is amazing as well, but you are going to need equipment, okay? So you can buy some equipment if you have some room in your house or garage or whatever it may be for it. So strength training is great because it's very time efficient. You can go and you can hit it, right? 3 times a week, even as little as 20 minutes. Just make sure you warm up, especially if you got the injuries and all that stuff. But it's going to require you to have that equipment. But from there, all you gotta do is hit it, and it's like owning a rental property, right? It's burning calories at rest when you have more muscle that you've built from strength training, as opposed to having to clock in and work those hours to make that money, aka walking and cardio, which you do both together. That's how you get the optimal, fastest results and make it realistic within your lifestyle, your habits. And there's a lot of individual differences here, but again, strength training is awesome for these purposes, right? So again, if strength training is not gonna be realistic for you at all and you just have to do bodyweight strength training, it's still decent. Like, you're still going to get 60 to 80% of the results you would get with regular strength training as far as like building muscle. But as far as fat loss, you'll get, 80, maybe even 90% of the results you would get with regular. So that's fine. You can still do really well. But again, having at least a little bit of equipment is very helpful. So the ideal scenario is, of course, that you're doing, some strength training workouts with equipment, but also doing some of the functional bodyweight stuff at the end of those workouts, and you're walking and doing cardio and on the perfect diet. And there might be like a quarter where you can do that, where you do like a 90-day challenge or a 6-month challenge, or maybe you decide, hey, you know what? I've spent the last decade building my business and my career. I'm going to step back a bit. I've got, staff and people in place now to where I can actually take some time to focus on myself and my family. And boom, you completely change your lifestyle And now you're in that phase of your life where you can, because you've built your business, mashallah, and now you're in your 40s, 50s, whatever. Maybe your kids are more grown up now to where they're less demanding as well. I mean, I've definitely had a lot of guys in that situation as well. Like, you know, even a lot of busy professionals who are still working a lot of hours, but now their kids are grown where they now have time to focus on themselves. And this is a great scenario, right? So, but you also might be right in the mix. You might have, you know, 3 kids under 5 years old and 1 newborn who's waking you up 10 times a night. And even the 4-year-old isn't sleeping well. I'm just, hopefully that's not too specific, but maybe it is specific to some of you guys listening. And you're like, man, this is like impossible. There's no way I can focus on this. But don't just drop the ball on your fitness. You still have to at least keep yourself in maintenance mode. And that's a big thing. It's very, very important, okay? Don't ever drop the ball and give up. Because remember, the whole purpose we're doing this is to please Allah. And remember that inna Allah ma'as sabirin. Allah is with those who are perseverant. So persevere, don't give up. It doesn't mean that you can work out as much as the guy whose kids are grown, who's able to step back from his business. And it definitely doesn't mean you can work out as much as the single dude who's just trying to get fit so he can get married. But what it means is that even if you have 3 kids under 5 years old and you're working 12 hours a day, you can at least still do something, right? Even if it's a bare minimum, even if it's a 10-minute bodyweight workout 3 times a week and a 10-minute walk on the other days of the week whenever you have time, and you just make you clean up your diet a bit, that's at least a great start. But I know you're an A player, and I know you're a harder worker than that. I know you can do better than that, and so you're going to do better than that. And that's what I want to push you to do today and ongoing, is to hold yourself to a higher standard. Like, start with that bare minimum, but don't stop there. Build up, or maybe just use that for maintenance. But then when you have a quarter where you can maybe focus more on yourself, or take, you know, make some shifts so that you can focus more on yourself, then great. But the point is, we need to be realistic, and we also need to find the balance between realistic and optimal progress and make sure everything is sustainable and enjoyable. And again, this does require a lot of, you know, customization, but again, we'll get into all of that, and we're going to also talk about seasons in a couple slides later, like seasons where you can really push and focus on fitness, and others where you have to go more in maintenance mode, and that's totally fine. And even if your schedule was consistent, you always had time, it's still better for your body to have some phases where you push and some phases where you let your body recover. This is actually optimal regardless, but especially for your schedule, if you have some times where you have to focus more on work and you can't focus so much on fitness, you're forced to do this, which is better for your body anyways. Okay, travel protocol. Okay, so when you're traveling, you're gonna have to do your workouts from either bodyweight or the hotel gym. Okay, and again, we can make the same accommodations. I mean, using the same principles as before. Usually 3 days a week when people are traveling is what I like to do. And again, outside of, you know, like, let's say you have a season where you can really focus on fitness, your kids are grown, your business, you can like chill and scale back a bit, and you've got staff and people in place, and you've bought your freedom back, etc., etc. Great. Now you can work out 4 days a week if you want, or you can just do 3. I mean, maybe you're a little older now and you can only recover from 3, otherwise your joints start to hurt, your old injuries. That's fine. Like for me, for instance, I'm still in the phase where, you know, I have, you know, I'm not going to say how many children I have, just for privacy reasons online, but, you know, we've got young ones, right? At least one young one. And so ultimately, for that reason, you know, I'm not in the phase where I have all my kids are grown to where I can just, you know, 100% focus on myself again. And same thing, I'm in a phase where not everything within my business is fully delegated yet, and so there's still a lot of hard work I need to do. It's not as bad as it used to be. Alhamdulillah, I've got a great team, but the point is, I'm not in a phase where I can put as much emphasis on fitness as I used to, and I don't have to. Guess what? I train 2-3 days a week, usually 3, sometimes 4, especially if it's a season or quarter where I can really push fitness, but that's about it. And it's very easy to maintain, and you don't have to completely give up, okay? But anyways, so back to your workouts, bodyweight or hotel gym while you're traveling, right? Easy accommodations, food, and I'm just trying to remove all the excuses for you and give you all the systems and principles. Of course, we can customize this for you inside of our professional services, but I want to give you the principles so you can start to get some results and apply them right away as well and learn more about how this stuff works. So food, it is very hard when you're eating out and this applies to eating out even if you're not traveling, but especially if you're traveling, it can be hard to find zero oil options. So what you have to do when you eat out, in order for you to still keep the calories down but get enough protein for your metabolism, for your muscle growth, etc., and for your energy levels, your satiation, to prevent you from eating more junk, is when you go out to eat, if it's a halal restaurant, you can get, you know, beef, chicken, whatever, even lamb. If it's not a halal restaurant, just get some kind of seafood option. But understand it's going to be cooked with a lot more oil than the parameters that I've set previously and the parameters that we use within our structured meal plans. And so ultimately, you're going to kind of be forced to just get a fattier meat, but then to keep the calories low, we just cut out the carbs. So this is in contrast, because I'm usually of the low-fat, high-carb approach, because I like to get in a lot of carbs for energy, satiation, muscle performance, mental performance throughout the day, and keep the fats lower, because if you need to lose weight, you don't need to eat that much fat, okay? Your body's going to use its own body fat. However, In this case, because the fats are high and we can't really control that, I mean, you can tell them to cook with less oil, but they're still going to put too much. So just keep the carbs out and the calories will stay the same, and then get steamed veggies. Don't get roasted veggies. They use too much oil for that. Don't get stir-fried veggies. They use too much oil for that. Get steamed veggies or a salad with no dressing. Get the dressing on the side. Boom, you're good to go for eating out. Or if you have like Whole Foods, there's a halal meal prep company in the area, whatever it may be, or a seafood meal prep company, you could also get foods from there. That's a more nuanced point. But again, there's a lot of things you can do, like Whole Foods, you can get pre-made salmon and you can get salads and everything. And, you know, it could be a little pricey, but, you know, if alhamdulillah, you know, Allah has blessed you, so you don't need to worry too much about that. Invest in yourself and inshallah you'll do well. Okay, time management. So the tricky thing with this, I'm a big fan when you're traveling of just doing your workout after Fajr before your work commitments come up and before your family is like fully woken up, right? It's a great way to just get it done. Midday is not always realistic, especially if you're traveling with the family, but it could work if you have like a, you know, extended lunch break during the conference if you're like traveling for a work conference. Or you could try to do evening, but this is a little bit tricky. You know yourself best. Sometimes when you're traveling, you're going to be exhausted if you were taking the family to do a bunch of activities. If it's a leisure trip or if it's a work trip, you might have been in conferences and do all kinds of stuff all day, and maybe you're trying to network at night as well. Whatever it may be, there are a lot of circumstances that make nighttime not ideal, but you know yourself best. If you have a lot of energy and you have the space and time to do that at night, do it. But if you're traveling and you mess up once, don't let the whole rest of the trip become a mess up. Just like how if you're at home, if you mess up once, don't let the whole rest of the week, month, year, lifetime become a mess up. Get right back up the next day. This is the mindset you have in business and family and deen, right? So have that mindset in fitness as well. You have that strength already. So remember, be a mu'min al-qawi and be somebody who is strong in every way, not just in one or two ways. Don't be one-dimensional or two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Be four-dimensional. Be multi-dimensional. Be somebody who's strong in every way for the sake of Allah, and understand that being good and solid in your body is going to help you in every other area of your life, inshallah. And most importantly, if we do it for the sake of Allah, it's something we get good deeds for as well, inshallah. So never give up. You're going to fail at times, but tomorrow is a new day, so don't let a day of failure become a cycle of failure. Let a day of failure be a catalyst to rapidly problem solve how you can do better so you can succeed tomorrow, just like how you would in business. Like if you fail in business, you're not just going to give up. If you fail at your job, you're not just going to resign from the company. So why are you doing that in your fitness, right? Same thing. Let's say you have an argument with a family member, or you're too harsh with your kid, or, you know, something else. You know, are you just going to give up and stop being a dad? No, you're going to get, or are you going to get a divorce over that? No, inshallah not, right? A'udhu billah, right? Get up the next day and push yourself to fix it. Have those hard conversations and do what is required to stay and maintain and fix and improve, and let it be a catalyst for you to do better the next time. Same thing. If you were, let's say that you had a complicated flight schedule and for some reason you missed the prayer, although you could just pray on the flight as well. There's a lot of options there, but for some reason something happened, you know, you got screwed up, whatever it may be, you're going to problem solve to get right back on that so you don't miss your next prayer and you don't miss the same prayer the next day or the next time you're in that situation. So because you already have that problem solver mindset, let's apply it to fitness and get right back up the next day. And remember that we're doing it for the sake of Allah, and it's going to boost all of our other areas of life. So fitness is a worthwhile pursuit and goal. And in another video, we don't have time in this video, but we're going to go really deep into the fitness frameworks to make this a non-negotiable for you, so you have the unlimited motivation to be successful using something I call the reason versus resistance paradigm and the force method, which I'll talk more about later. You might have seen me talk about these things in other videos too, but we're going to do another dedicated video on it as well. And if you've ever done any of, like, you know, the courses, modules, different things that I've put out at various times, different opportunities, or you're part of one of our programs, you would have already potentially accessed the force method or gone through it with our team, so you know what I'm talking about already, right? And then, of course, accountability systems and groups in play. Make sure that you have people who are going to hold you accountable, whether you're a client with us, and of course our team is holding you accountable, or whether you have others who you seek accountability from who are going to help you within your day-to-day life. And we'll talk more about that later as well, inshallah. So next up, we need to understand that, and you understand this best because this has been an obstacle for you with getting fit and staying fit before, is the fact that sometimes your stress is going to fluctuate. So sometimes you're going to have like a season of work where you're just super stressed, or maybe a week of work, or maybe there's layoffs in your company like the client I was telling you about before, and many others who have faced similar things we've worked with before as well. And so because you have gone through these ups and downs in your work stress, the seasons, the quarters, whatever it may be, even the years, the phases, maybe you had a whole decade where you're building your business and it was super chaotic, and now you're trying to focus on yourself again, or 2 decades, whatever it may be. You know, again, whatever situation it is, stress is going to go up and down. Even once you've made it, you might have stress go up and down. Like, let's say you've delegated and you've built an amazing team, then one of your top guys unexpectedly quits, or, you know, a'udhu billah, something happens to him health-wise. Then of course you're going to need to like step in, and your whole work-life balance might get messed up for a second, right? So These are things that we need to accommodate for. And so we're going to go into the principle first, and we're going to go into the strategy, which is that work stress, physical stress, and stress as a whole, which includes emotional stress, family stress. If you had an argument with a family member and that's stressing you out, mashallah, you have a big heart, so that's okay. But you got to be careful about letting that stress go to your heart. Keep it up here under your head. But even then, it stresses you out. And either way, all stresses pull from the same reserves. So let's say you have a push week in business, right? Then of course, maybe you need to do an easier week in fitness, or even just a maintenance week in fitness. But don't completely drop the ball, fall off the rails, get overweight, mess up your energy levels by eating the wrong foods. We're going to talk about stress eating a little later, but there are solutions for this. So there's no need to completely fall off and mess yourself up. So how do we accommodate that? Let's say, there's really a couple of variables. I'll show you all the variables, right? So there's a couple things we can change in our training as far as variables go that will allow us to accommodate and make things easier on ourselves. There's reps, there's frequency, there's intensity and workload, there's volume and time, etc. So let's say that on a week where you have super low stress, you like to really push yourself to do as many reps as possible in each exercise with as much weight as possible, and you like to hit the gym 4, maybe even 5 times a week, and you like to do a bunch of sets per exercise and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym. Now, most of you watching this probably are nowhere near that level. I mean, I definitely, I guess sometimes, but even with a bunch of sets, I don't really like to do that, even if I have all the time in the world, right? But a lot of times we're going to be on time constraints. If any variation of that is what you like to do on a week where you have all the time in the world, on a week where you have terrible time constraints, you just had a newborn, you have busy projects at work, there's been layoffs, or if you're a business owner, one of your team members just quit, or you had to fire somebody because they messed up and now you have to take over and train the next person, whatever it may be, or managers, whatever, right? You're not going to be able to train like that. You might train 2-3 times, okay, for 10-20 minutes, maybe just do some body weight maintenance stuff, maybe just go for a couple walks to clear your head and reduce your stress, maybe just meal prep or order some healthy food, whatever it may be. But you're not going to be able to push at the same level, and that's fine. We make those accommodations, and it's good to have guidance and somebody to soundboard off of, and to let know when you have these things so they can adjust things for you. But you can also adjust these things for yourself if you don't have somebody to help you with this, right? And so very, very important that we make these accommodations to ensure that we're not overstressing ourselves, because if we have more stress in another area, we can't handle as much stress in our body. So we need to adjust these variables to make things easier on ourselves. And it's important to have that accommodation, which is part of why a lot of just cookie cutter templates you might have found online, or programs, maybe you've worked with some of these young fitness coaches who don't really understand what you go through between all the busy stuff that you have going on, then you probably know what it is, versus a good coach is going to actually make the right adjustments for you. Just going to quickly drink some water. Water intake's important as well. I'll talk about it in other videos, inshallah. But and that's another great way to boost your energy and metabolism and a lot of other things, inshallah. But of course, if you're having an easier week in business or work, or an easier season of life, you could push further in fitness if you like, or you might need some time to recover from previous weeks. But listen to your body. If you feel run down, it's not the time to push in your fitness. It's the time to take it easy and be in maintenance mode and recovery mode. Okay? But if you feel great, then you can definitely push yourself. And remember that there are things that you can do that boost your fitness, help you burn fat, and help you bring your stress down instead of increasing your stress, which is walking and stretching, which we're going to focus on more during these difficult times. Okay, walking is one of the greatest things you can do for your mental health when you're going through a stressful period. It is also a great form of exercise. Now, of course, I kind of touched on this already, which is that you have different seasons, right? So you might, know that in your industry, tax season gets busy. You might know that in your lifestyle, summer gets busy because your kids are home. You might have a certain goal that you're pushing. Maybe you're starting a new business and you really just, on top of what you're already doing with your business or your work. And so, you're going to be pretty busy for a while. That doesn't mean that you drop off on fitness. That means that you need to be more accountable than ever to not drop off when most people would. Okay, and you need to be surrounded by the right people who are not going to drop off and let you drop off during these times, who see being fit and healthy and taking care of yourself as normal instead of a luxury that you drop off on when things get busy. Otherwise, you're going to fail. Okay, so obviously, if you just had a new baby, blah, blah, you're not going to be hitting the gym 5 days a week per se. I mean, actually, we do have some clients who have actually still pushed for that. I was like, hey, you want to do 3 or 4? You just had a new baby? He's like, no, let's go for 5, right? We've had examples of that, mashallah, busy cybersecurity professional, still doing it, still crushing it. But that's an anomaly, right? Most of you are going to have to scale back a bit, okay? Always accommodate the circumstances and listen to your body, okay? Listen to your body, listen to your mind, see what's obvious in front of you. But don't become the guy who completely drops the ball, though, because that's just an extreme mindset that's going to mess you up for sure. We're going to talk about mindsets in a second. If you're the type of person who drops the ball when things get busy and difficult, no, don't do that. You need to stop that right now. This is part of why you're sabotaging. Switch into maintenance mode. And remember, that the whole reason we work out and we take care of our nutrition is so we have more energy, which helps us in these things that we're so busy with and increases our stress capacity, which is better. Same thing, don't drop off on your prayers. I know most of you are already, alhamdulillah, you never drop off on your prayers, but some people do drop off on their prayers when they get busy. But remember, you're trying to pursue a goal. How are you ever going to achieve that goal if Allah does not put barakah in it, right? So make sure you're still praying and being dialed in with that, even when you're going through a busy season where maybe you're not waking up for tahajjud, but you still got to wake up for fajr, and you still got to stay up for isha, right? Maybe you're not praying qiyam al-layl, but you still got to make isha. You still got to make it to the masjid once in a while, right? Hold yourself to a higher standard, even if maintenance mode is less than your all-out mode, right? That's fine. You don't have to be in all-out mode all the time. That's not realistic. Life is a series of sprints and marathons, right? So just remember, you can always switch into maintenance mode if you're busy. Now, stress-related food cravings. Now, I have a whole 1+ hour video on stress management on my channel here on YouTube, so you can just go into that, right? But another aspect here is that I always like to stay ready so I don't have to get ready. So I always like to keep some delicious chocolate protein bars on hand. I really like the Quest ones. A lot of my clients and employees like the Barabels ones. Some people like the One bars as well. Those are all good, just as long as they have no more than 200 calories and no less than 20 grams of protein, and they don't make you bloated. Those are the parameters, and of course they don't contain any haram ingredients, which the brands that I've mentioned, as far as I know, we've checked. There was a period where I thought Barabels had, regular collagen in it, but it actually turns this halal collagen, which is awesome, right? But so that's a great way to address the chocolate and sweets cravings, and there's so many different delicious protein products. Quest makes a lot of them. Their bars are good, but some of their other products, the macros are not as good, right? Crunchy and salty cravings. I like to keep Quest chips on hand. There's this thing called protein puffs I used to get, but I got tired of them. But I've never gotten tired of Quest chips. I mean, I eat so many Quest chips. It's crazy. Spend a ton of money on that, alhamdulillah. And then if you have creamy and ice cream cravings, you can do 0% Greek yogurt, which is awesome. Very, very delicious. Very, very helpful. And that is super, super amazing macros. Like the Quest chips, they got 20 grams of protein, 170 calories, so they perfectly fit the parameter. The ice cream, sorry, not the ice cream, the 0% Chobani, zero sugar, right? Those have 12 grams of protein each, 60 calories only. So you can eat 3 of those and get 36 grams of protein and still be under 200 calories, which is awesome. Now, if you're craving decadent traditional foods, see our recipes, especially if you're already a client and you've gotten some of our custom recipes for yourself. Use those. You can also use some of like the recipe meal prep, and I've done a couple of those on my channel here. We might do more. But yeah, if you've ever been a part of like our programs and or courses, this has been something that you've already gotten access to. So, but even if not, you can still use the principle I talked about before. Leaner cuts of meat, less oil, all that stuff. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay? Now, support systems. So another thing that is very important is you should find other Muslims who are serious about succeeding in both Deen and Dunya. This might be at the masjid, it might be at work, it might be at the gym, it might be family, friends, and if you can't find them anywhere else, then just join the M3 Mastermind program and we'll get you sorted out, which is part of why our clients see great success, is you're surrounded by the right people, the right environment. And so this leads into number 4, which is the 4 doors of change. There's your habits, there's your mindset, there's your environment, and there's your identity. Okay? So interestingly enough, your environment and identity are going to lead into the other 2 very easily. So let me give you an example of what not to do, right? So what you shouldn't do is, let's say that all your friends are overweight and this is your typical environment. So what you should not do is just say, I guess this is just what happens when you get older, you get married, you have work, you have kids, blah, 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 and you just have this negative mindset that is not conducive to your success. Because if you start to see yourself as, I'm just an old, overweight, married dad / business owner / whatever / doctor, engineer, IT, whatever you identify with, accountant, whatever you see yourself as, but you see yourself as just this old, overweight, married dad within that profession or business, I mean, do you think that's going to be conducive to you being successful in your fitness and your health and even in your ibadah and being the best version of yourself and being the best role model for your kids? Absolutely not. And you might only be like in your 30s or 40s or early 50s or even in your late 50s, but you start to act, look, and feel a lot older than that. Like you're not 80, and even if you're 80, there's 80-year-olds who are healthy and fit. So what excuse do you have if you're 30, 40, or 50? So very, very important that you don't fall off on that, right? You might feel older than that because you haven't been taking care of your health, but you can absolutely fix that. And the problem is that if you identify yourself in that negative way and you have that negative mindset, then of course your habits are going to follow suit and further reinforce that belief that you have, which is that if you don't believe that you're capable of being fit and you see yourself in this negative way, you're going to eat more junk food. You're going to eat more indulgently. You're not going to regard your health. You're going to skip workouts even if you have a workout plan. You're going to be complacent with your body. You're going to be one of these one-dimensional guys who, yes, of course, it's good that you still pray and you still make money and you spend time on your family. But if you have no energy and your mood is not optimal and it's not as good as it could be, even if your ibadah and production at work are decent and you're still decently patient and positive around your family, because your energy and mood and everything else are not at the peak of your full potential, they aren't as good as you could be. So let's say you're making 150K a year or 300K a year, you could be making way more than that, and you literally get paid to work out and take care of your health because you're going to make more money, but instead you're just falling short, right? Even if you're making decent money already, right? Let's say that you already wake up for tahajjud once a week. Well, how much more could you be waking up for tahajjud? If you already, read X amount of Quran, or you're, retaining a certain amount of memorization, you could be doing better if you have more energy and more focus and we're in a better mood. Likewise, let's say that your family loves you X amount, they could love you even more if you were a better version of yourself. And let's say that you only get angry at your family like once in a while. What if you could never get angry at your family at all because you built such a positive mood that you never had any risk of snapping at your family or being that grumpy, tired dad who doesn't have energy to play with his kids after work? And I'm talking best case scenarios here, by the way. Like, if you're somebody who gets mad at your kids every day, or you have no energy for your kids every day, that's a problem you need to fix even more urgently. But even if you're like a great dad and you only get mad at your kids once a year, what if it could be 0 times a year? How much better would your relationships be? So again, whether you're already doing well or whether you're doing really bad and you need to work on it, it never hurts you to get fit. It always benefits you to get fit when you do it in the right way that accommodates for these other demands, which are what we're talking about and what we can customize further for you, inshallah. So here's the positive version of what you should do. First off, if you have any limiting beliefs about whether you can be successful, look at somebody who has it worse than you. Look at somebody who's older than you, who has more kids than you, who works more hours than you, who's still winning at fitness, who you can relate with. There must be a way to do this, and when you see this, you're going to realize that when there's a will, there's a way. Okay? This is going to improve your mindset that even if your genetics are like not conducive to being shredded effortlessly, doesn't matter. You can still be shredded if you put in the effort, right? Even if you're, in your 50s, especially if you're in your 30s and 40s, you got no excuse. Even if you have time constraints, you work 80 hours a week, you can still be fit and healthy and boost all your other areas of life as your result by having that right mindset, by shifting your focus to look at the right people and surrounding yourself with an environment of others who are dialed in with this exact result that you're trying to achieve for yourself, despite the same obstacles that you face. That's the greatest inspiration that's completely going to shift your mindset towards these things and give you that belief that it's possible and shift your identity about yourself, and then start to see yourself differently too. Like, even before you have the result, see yourself as the version of you who you're now surrounding yourself by. Now that you believe it's possible, see yourself differently and let your habits and your mindset shift into line with that, result that you're trying to produce for yourself. And from there, the result will eventually come because you're embodying the right habits and you're seeing the success and having the belief and being surrounded by people who inspire you and show you that it's worth it. That's the beauty of having the right environment. And so what I want you to see yourself as, hey, I'm a fit dad and high performance Muslim father. And, that was actually the original intent when I came up with the whole thing. Modern Muslim man is a guy who has it all, right? The modern Muslim man is not just some burnt out modern desk jockey or uncle with a belly, but he's a man who is performing at his peak and reaching the highest capacity of his full potential. And then guess what? That's sunnah. It's sunnah to be healthy and fit. The Prophet ﷺ never had a belly. His stomach and his chest were in a straight line. Even in his 50s, he was fighting battles with, there's no specific report, but, a lot of people say that the armor of that day weighed like 20 kilos. That's 44 pounds. Imagine carrying 44 pounds of armor and being able to fight battles and climb mountains and all this crazy stuff. Now, you might have 44 pounds of excess weight, but it's not armor, it's body fat. And that's weighing you down, but you're getting winded going up these hills, and there's no way you could fight a battle. I mean, could you even defend your family if somebody put them in danger, if, somebody bad came to your neighborhood? I mean, may Allah protect all of us, but I'm just saying, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And if you're not ready, then let's get ready right now, okay? Remember that we need to boost our habits, okay? So, number one, if you have this identity and mindset, these habits are actually going to naturally come to you. You're naturally going to eat clean foods that fuel your metabolism, energy, and optimize hormones and blood work because you see yourself as this high-performing Muslim father. Instead of, skipping your workouts, you're going to prioritize them, even if they need to be shortened or flexible or time efficient. You see the importance, you see the value, and you understand how that short investment of time into yourself has a giant return as far as how productive you are at work, how much more money you make, the energy and mood that you have with your family, their ibadah, and the quality and quantity of your ibadah. And then you have more barakah in your life, and you have more success in both deen and dunya. I know you're already successful. You're not some greedy person per se, but at the same time, what if you could do more? How much more could you do for your community, your family, everything else? And how much more could you do for the sake of Allah, most importantly? So, before we get into the end here and recap everything, if you like really feel like you need some help with this, or you want to at least see how we can help you with it, and you have an interest in learning more about what we can do as far as helping you with the strategy, the structure, holding you accountable, putting you in this environment of success, especially if you're lacking the environment, but even if you already have some people in your environment, immersing you fully in a successful environment where the mindset, habits, and everything else come naturally, in addition to the structure that we're going to give you specific to you, and that we adjust based on your circumstances and help you adjust over time based on whatever circumstances come up. Even if they're unexpected circumstances, we'll help you make those adjustments. Well, our program is going to cover all of the above and is literally tailored to men just like you. So if you want to book a consultation, get this personalized to you and get more info, tap the link below in the description. There's a calendar link. There's also like videos, testimonials, more info, etc., which is going to be very helpful for you, inshallah. So go ahead and do that now, and then from there, conclusion and review. So the first thing you need to do is accommodate for your time constraints by establishing the right rhythm that is tailored to your life for momentum, flow, and maximum results. And we're going to help you do that as well, inshallah. You need to understand that you're going to have different types of days, so create a little structure for yourself, and we can help you with this as well. The archetypes for your days, and we've helped a lot of clients with this as well, so that you have a structured solution for every variance that might occur based on the days you have ahead of you. You're going to structure your meal plan and your meal prep so that it satisfies all the foods and cravings that you might have on any given day, any given week, for any given mood, that are the foods you like, that you're accustomed to. You're going to structure your training to work around any injuries you may have that addresses your current level, whether beginner or advanced, and that is flexible with your various circumstances. And if you're a beginner, even if you're like learning new exercises, we have technique reviews with our program as well, where we do in-depth technique reviews with the technique expert on our team, which is amazing. If you're traveling, follow the travel protocols I outlined here, and we can help you with this as well, make it specific for you and where you're traveling, where you can get different foods at, what restaurants you're going to, etc. Even when you're not traveling, you can literally send us the the menu for the place you're going to, whether it's a business lunch, a business dinner, whatever it may be, or a family dinner, whatever it is, and we can tell you what to get. And also we do a cheat meal once a week. That way you can still eat your mother-in-law's cooking or your mom's cooking, whatever it may be. You need to accommodate for stress by adjusting your training variables and use meal prep to actually save you time and optimize your energy as opposed to taking away time. So meal prep actually saves you time. It saves you decision fatigue. It saves you from a lot of the pitfalls you would otherwise fall into. And we want to get ourselves intrinsically motivated to stick to it because we see the benefit and the value and how it helps our energy and the other priorities and obligations that we have in our lives. And we want to bring down our stress hormones, and we want to raise our ability to handle stress, and nutrition is going to help us to do that by meal prepping the right foods and avoiding the stuff that makes you bloated and having the right replacements ready if you do have a craving, right? If you have a busy week or a busy season, we need to accommodate and recover appropriately, which of course we help you do inside the program as well. And then if you're going through such a busy season that you just need to go into maintenance mode, just switch to maintenance mode, but don't drop the ball. Don't let maintenance demotivate you. I know it's more motivating to chase goals, but sometimes you got to maintain just for the sake of keeping your energy levels up and not displeasing Allah by becoming somebody who neglects your body and is heedless and have that bleed negatively in other areas of your life. So remember that dropping the ball on health and fitness is detrimental to your success and your results and your stress capacity and your ability to handle all this overwhelm in the other areas of life. So even if you're overwhelmed, stay on point with your fitness, even if it's minimalistic, to help you handle that overwhelm and physical stress, okay? Because while working out, especially a lot, does cause physical stress, there's lower stress things. Like, it's still important that you do some kind of training to keep your digestion, your energy, your blood flow optimized, and walking, of course, reduces stress immediately. And even the workouts, when they're not too intense, reduce stress immediately. So it's very important to do. Of course, you also need to be surrounded by like-minded individuals instead of people who drag you down. You need people in your environment who are going to support your success, who help you to stay accountable, and of course, who give you the structure. So I would recommend that you consider joining the M3 program either now or in the near future to help you to guarantee your results and success. And the link is below in the description. And then make sure that you're putting yourself in the right environment and focusing on the possibilities, the reason why you can, instead of focusing on the reasons why you can't, which is going to foster the right mindset and identity, which is automatically going to lead to the right mindsets and habits, especially when you have the right structure, knowledge, and guidance for your situation. And if you're still struggling with motivation, we have some other videos on this, and we're also going to do some deeper reason versus resistance ones, or maybe you want to join our program firsthand and you'll experience the force method firsthand that we use to do this, to help you have unlimited motivation with your fitness, no matter how busy you are, what obstacles you face. And of course, any other questions you have, drop them below, and stay tuned for the next video. Alhamdulillah. Great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to get good deeds by benefiting the believers. Anything else you need, let me know. And if you want to check out the program, go ahead and check out the link below, book a consultation, inshallah. Hopefully I'll see you on the other side. All right, I'll see you guys soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.